It's cold outside. It was negative 12 just came in. It's supposed to drop down a little bit colder here and then maybe get back up. It won't be out of the minus zeros today. And that's Fahrenheit. So that negative 12 right now, that's negative 24, 25 up there in Canada where you use Celsius, which is not as cold as it is in Calgary. Buddy of mine, he just posted that it was minus 36 Celsius up there. It's only minus 24, 25 here. Still pretty cold, minus 12 Fahrenheit. And I just came in from shoveling. I was actually going to talk about the ridiculousness of Facebook and their fact checkers. I will save that for another day because I didn't have time to get that prepared to show you what I wanted to show you and how their fact checkers are blatantly wrong. And if they're wrong on my posts, how many others are they blatantly wrong about when they're supposedly telling you the facts? Ridiculous. And to try to get it corrected is almost impossible because nobody will pay attention to you, and it's crazy. We'll talk about that on an upcoming show, so stay tuned for that one. And I will show you some examples of it blatantly wrong when they're saying something is false and it's not. And it's just crazy. But I didn't have time to get that set up because I've been out shoveling and I'm not done. When I get off here, I'm going back out to finish up. So I wanted to provide a little bit of tips for staying warm for everybody that's cold out there. Good morning, John. Appreciate you being here. You'll notice I got a hat on. Cover the head, especially cover the ears, because you lose a lot of heat out of the head. So if you're going to go out in cold weather, you want to have a hat on. You want to have ears covered up. You want to have a coat that's high and covers the neck too. Using a scarf or a muffler and covering the neck and covering your mouth and nose also. Or, you can wear a face mask, something where you're not breathing in the cold air. So you can do that. You could put some gel, like petroleum jelly, on your skin that might be exposed when it's super cold. And especially if you have a high wind and the wind chill gets down there, you don't want to have that exposed skin. It can get frostbite really quick. So we want to make sure we have very minimal exposed skin for very short times if we're going out in cold. And you need to monitor that. If you do have exposed skin, make sure it's not getting cold and where you can get into the frostbite. Wear gloves or mittens. Mittens are going to be a little bit warmer because they keep your fingers all in one thing. Good gloves, they'll be okay too. So you want a good pair of waterproof, warm gloves. And some of those are going to cost you a little bit more. I mean, you can get gloves for $1 or you can get gloves for $100. I mean, they have and anywhere in between. You'll spend a little bit of money to get good, nice weather clothes to keep you warm, especially if you're going to spend time out there. Wear layers. You'll notice, I have the sweatshirt on. I have another warm shirt underneath it. I had a coat on top of it. And when you're out there shoveling and doing some exercise, you want those layers and you gauge how warm you get. You can overheat and then you have too much sweat and then you sweat, you get colder. So you have to be careful of what kind of activities you're doing. A lot of times on the base layer, you can get special base layer clothing that wick the water and keep the moisture away from you. And those are recommended depending on what kind of activities you're going to be doing and how long you're going to be out there. Obviously, me going out shoveling with that activity where I'm right here in the driveway, can come in the house, a little different than if I'm out in the woods for a long time and I'm going to dress a little bit differently and more appropriately for being out in the woods where I can't just stop and come in if I want to. And so you got to judge that. And that's a good point. If you're out shoveling and you're starting to get cold and stuff, come in, warm up, especially your extremities. Your fingers will get cold first, depending on what kind of gloves and things you have. Your feet may get cold depending on your footwear. Very good to have some good insulated, warm winter footwear if you're going to be out in the cold with proper socks as well. But depending on what you're wearing, your feet may get cold, your fingers may get cold, any exposed face or things up here might get cold first. And if you start feeling that, come in, warm them up if you have an opportunity to do that. Don't go to the point where you could cause, some damage. So take care of yourself. But, wear layers, Wear appropriate things. If we live up here in the north, all the sporting goods stores, hunting and sporting good type stores, they sell tons of cold weather clothing and gear. Have the proper stuff for where you live. Now, if you're one of those people like Mark, who sometimes watches, or Jeff down in Florida, and you don't have to worry about this, wonderful. Put on your sunscreen. Don't get burned today. But all of us up here in the north and the Midwest and places that are getting hit with some really extreme temperatures this week, be smart about it. Wear the appropriate things. Do the appropriate thing. I mean, don't go out. I'm just going to go out for a little bit, a quick trip, and then your car slides off the road and you're stuck and you don't have warm stuff and ways to stay warm. Okay, be smart about it. You're going to go out into this kind of weather. Have the proper clothing and different things to keep you warm and keep you safe. Dixon says Arctic blast is actually bringing a hard freeze to us next week. Brr. And Dixon's down in Texas, a place you don't think about getting cold, but it can happen anywhere. Be safe about it. Make sure your car, if you are driving, you have the proper tires and have some things in your vehicle to keep you warm if by chance you get stranded or stuck somewhere. It happens. You see these things on TV in places where an ice storm or something hits and rows of cars are just stuck and stranded out in that kind of weather. If you have the proper things in your car, you can ride those out much easier. If you're going to go out and shovel, it's going to be a lot better if you have the appropriate clothing, appropriate footwear, things for your hands, keep your head warm. It's going to be much safer. And the last thing I'll say about that, when you're up here in this cold weather, if you keep yourself in better physical condition, you can deal with the cold. You can deal with things like shoveling a lot easier. And that's one more reason why it's important to have a regular fitness program. Why the other day I talked about seeing your doctor, monitoring your health, staying healthy, staying fit. It allows us to go out and enjoy the cold weather. If you enjoy cold weather sports, snowshoeing, skiing, sledding, those kind of activities, it allows us to go out and shovel. So many people have heart attacks. I did a program on that one day, have heart attacks shoveling because they're not used to the exertion. They go out there with a big winter storm and end up having a heart attack. It happens all the time. You talk to hospitals and things, and after big snowstorms, often they'll have that increase of people coming in because of that. Staying in shape will help you prevent that. So stay in shape, wear the proper clothing, have the proper gear, and you can ride out this extreme cold weather that's hitting the country right now. And it's going to hit the country again and again and again. It's not like this is new. We've been through it before. We're going to go through it again. So have the proper things to make it easier and safer. Have a fantastic Friday. We'll see you tomorrow.